The whole truth and nothing but the truth. You can't handle the truth. And this show is for you.
What's happening, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. You guys have a lot of choices out there. We truly do appreciate you making us part of your day each and every day here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. Coming up on the show today, we've got the voice of Clemson, Don Munson. Is just set to be joining us in the very, very next segment of the show. Is the slow start against Charleston Southern a big deal, a little deal, or no deal? This sport gets lost during football season. Literally, I don't think anyone cares anymore. How do the Gamecocks shock the world on Saturday like they did in 2019? We've got Jake Crain of Crain and Company joining us. He's got, it seems like, a bold prediction on Florida against Tennessee. You're the only 10 I see. There is a quarterback that has a chance to set a record this weekend in all of the wrong ways. We've got the top 5 at 5. Diesel and I will make our predictions for the college football playoff as though we're predicting towards the end of the season who ultimately is going to make the college football playoff. And we have you here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. So anyway, folks, let us open with this. And of course, you guys can chime into the show at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. And the carpro.com text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. That is how you guys can get in touch with us. I feel bad about something. Okay, I feel bad about something because I feel badly for Aaron Rodgers. Okay, and I thought of one of you guys last night, which is, unless one of you guys is sick, right? It's pretty unusual for me to think about work-related things in terms of like assignments, people, places. Pretty unusual when work is over. I think I do a pretty good job of disconnecting, right? And like connecting with my fam and separating, separation of church and state, separation of work from home. But I did think of Crazy Ralph last night because Crazy Ralph said something yesterday on the show that a lot of people would find offensive. He said he hopes Spencer Rattler breaks his leg so Lenoris Sellers can play. And I was thinking about that last night because that's what happened to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles on his 4th snap with the New York Jets. He attempted one pass yesterday. It was incomplete on the day. And lo and behold, folks, this is what it sounded like. Okay, this is what it sounded like. Peyton and Eli last night on the Peyton and Eli broadcast when Aaron Rodgers got on the cart.
He's in the tent. He's hurt. He's hurt. Could not have been. Holy cow. I cannot believe this. I thought it was just an ankle. I thought we'd go tape it up and get him back in there. Come on.
Hey, three plays, 4 plays.
Yeah, I'd rather see the run it.
Look at this, baby.
This had a baby.
This is what he
does. So you see Peyton and Eli shocked at what we saw yesterday. Robert Saleh, Jets coach, after the game, talked about the MRI that Aaron Rodgers would get today that we now know the results of.
All right, I'll deal with the quarterback real quick. Concerned with his Achilles. MRI is probably going to confirm what we think is already going to happen. So prayers tonight, but it's not good.
It's not good. It is a torn Achilles. Aaron Rodgers minimally is done for the year, and I feel badly because I feel like I'm more upset. Look, guys, admission is the first step towards recovery here. I'm always on a journey to become the best version of myself. Here's a way I can get better, okay? I feel most bad, not for Aaron Rodgers, but because, I was looking forward to the Jets sucking with him. You know what I'm saying? That was one of my biggest, boldest offseason takes. One of my biggest takes was that, man, the Jets are going to be well below this 9.5 game win total. Well below that. I think they're going to be 7-10. They were 7-10 last year. They're going to be 7-10 this year. Look at their schedule. The Bills, the Cowboys, the Patriots, the Chiefs, at the Broncos, and the Eagles. They're going to be 0-6 or 1-5. One of those two. That's what's going to happen. And it was the train wreck that I was looking forward to seeing. It was the same reason we all watched Jerry Springer growing up, right? Because you knew it was going to be a bleep show. And I thought this was going to be a bleep show that I couldn't wait to see. And the NFL is now less interesting today than it was yesterday. Aaron Rodgers, that was one of, folks, the most anticipated debuts ever. Have you any idea how long the Jets have sucked or done anything of consequence, right? Anybody? Bueller? Fry? Diesel, I find myself most miffed, ticked, pissed, because now I don't get to see the train wreck that was inevitably going to happen.
Yeah, I saw a very crass joke on social media that said this was the second worst thing that's ever happened to New York City on 9/11.
Oh.
Very rough, very off-color joke, but, I mean...
Accurate. Yeah, it is the second worst thing that's ever happened to them on 9/11. It also made me realize, folks, just how lucky Clemson has been at the quarterback position. All these guys who have gotten hurt, Deshaun Watson gets hurt after he leaves Clemson. Taj Boyd, largely healthy. Deshaun Watson, largely healthy. Trevor Lawrence, largely healthy. Kelly Bryant, largely healthy. DJ I'm out of practice there. DJ Uiagalelei, unfortunately for many Clemson fans, largely healthy during his time at Clemson. Think about how much that screws your season if your quarterback goes down. I don't know. I'd like to think the Jets have one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league. I mean, they did spend a number 2 overall pick on him, Zach Wilson. It looked like last night they were trying to hide him. Okay, let's lean on running the football. We got Dalvin Cook. Let's try to hide him. But I did find myself thinking, man, Clemson has been fortunate at that position. This is my 5th year covering Clemson football. 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23. None of those years, okay, not a single one of those years, Diesel, has Clemson had a backup quarterback where the wheels wouldn't totally have fallen off if the starter went down. And Tyson Pumachan was the backup. Something called Hunter Helms was the backup some of these years. Clemson has never had a backup quarterback that is ready to go. You know what I mean? What is the goal when you have a backup quarterback? The goal is to keep the train on the tracks, right?
Well, our QB1 broke his finger in the first quarter of his first game as QB1. Had to go to the backup.
He looked great.
Did pretty good. Did pretty well against North Carolina.
Beaten North Carolina with the starter.
I don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah, you don't. You don't know. But man, that jumped out to me nonetheless. You see, folks, as Diesel or that joke writer ever so uneloquently stated, that was the saddest thing that happened in New York, second saddest thing that's ever happened in New York on 9/11. And it's because it was one of the most anticipated debuts that we've ever seen. I was thinking about this, guys. Most anticipated debuts in sports. What do you got? Hunter Green of the Cincinnati Reds. Shaquille O'Neal, his debut with the Orlando Magic. How about Arch Manning when he ultimately debuts for Texas? We'll see if he's substance to match the style.
How about Zion Williamson in the NBA?
How about Victor Wembanyama coming up with the Spurs, Shohei Ohtani with the Angels, Steven Strasburg with the Nationals when he debuted back then in a 100-mile-an-hour fastball when nobody had a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. How is that commonplace now, by the way, that we suddenly have like commonplace 100-mile-an-hour fastballs when the human arm couldn't do that 10 years ago?
Well, if you trust the conspiracy theorists, Mark, it's because there's something in the baseball.
That's it. But the baseball can be juiced to make it fly farther. Can it be juiced to make it fly faster out of a pitcher's hand?
Lower the didn't a couple of years ago they lowered the height of the laces on a baseball?
I thought so. Is there something that can be done to increase the aerodynamic capability of a baseball?
That's what I'm saying.
See what I'm saying? So that make the ball travel faster, right? But folks, look, let's say the right thing. Okay, the right thing is it sucks for New York. It sucks for Aaron Rodgers. He is out for the year. If I'm Aaron, I'm strongly considering retirement right now, even though he had previously stated, man, you know what? It would be wrong to do this to New York for 1 year. But does he really have it in him to go through all of the rehab to come back out of something like this?
I mean, that is the worst of the worst scenarios. That is doomsday scenario for the New York Jets.
They said a torn Achilles, Diesel, run in my family. My dad's torn his twice. I have felt mine pull, but never stretch. Every time it happens, Diesel, it just feels like it's my fate. It's going to happen at one point.
Yeah.
And so, that's why, Diesel, I don't do things like 40-yard dashes anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, if I haven't had an adequate chance to warm up, you want me to just run out there and run a 40?
Well, that's just not smart for anyone.
No, that's not going to happen for me. Not going to happen. So I do feel for Aaron Rodgers. I do feel for the Jets, even if a large part of that is that I was looking forward to them sucking with him. And now it feels like there's this built-in excuse. So, of course they suck. They don't have Aaron Rodgers. Oh, look at the schedule. They were going to suck anyway. Okay? The other piece to this, though, is what the hell has happened to Josh Allen? Josh Allen has now played 20 games without Brian Dabo as his offensive coordinator. Okay? Brian Dabo is now the coach of the New York Giants. He got blood from the stone last year, getting the Giants to the playoffs. They lost 40-0 to Dallas. Methinks he might have a hard time getting that to happen the second time around. But Josh Allen, 20 picks in 20 games without Brian Dabo, right? Turnover prone. Yesterday, three interceptions to the same guy. I don't know his first name, Diesel, but I'm told his last name is Whitehead. I think his first name is Pop. His second name is Pop My Whitehead. That is the guy's name that had 3 interceptions yesterday against Aaron Rodgers, against Josh Allen. But Josh Allen also fumbled late in the game.
Yeah, there's this category of players. There's multiple categories of players in the NFL. There's those guys who are so good they transcend whoever is on their roster and whoever is on their coaching staff. There are those guys who are pretty good, who need the right guy, the perfect guy to transcend and become that next level type of player. They're the type of the guys that if you don't have your coordinator, you don't have your head coach, you don't have your quarterback, thinking Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, you just fall off a cliff when a piece goes missing. And it goes to show you, again, how difficult it is to win in major sports. If one piece changes, it completely changes the face of your franchise. It completely changes the way you play.
And that's exactly what's going on right now. And Josh Allen is changed in the sense that he's now unbridled. He now has no harness on him. And he's a guy who needs to be harnessed, right? Folks, my opinion is, yeah, Diesel.
So I was going to read a couple of messages here. Finish your thought.
Yeah, my belief is that everybody in life needs a get-back coach. Everybody in life needs a bouncer in their corner. Everybody in their life needs somebody to keep it 100 with them, a system of checks and balances. Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson to do that for him. Steph Curry has Steve Kerr. Tom Brady has Bill Belichick. Patrick Mahomes has Andy Reid, right? But you don't think Patrick Mahomes could be a little undisciplined without the right coach? Josh Allen has a defensive coach. He's begging for leadership. He's begging for somebody to work with him on his mechanics and keep him in line, and he doesn't have that. So Josh Allen is now getting sloppy and turnover prone. You know, guys, there is no more correlatable statistic to wins and losses in the NFL than turnovers. All right? Do you realize that the reason Phillip Rivers is considered by many to be one of the most overrated quarterbacks ever is because he always led the league in turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, like routinely was among the league leaders in turnovers. Do you realize that year by year, right, the top 5 teams in turnover margin in the NFL have roughly a 75% winning percentage year in, year out? Do you realize the bottom 5 teams in turnover margin have roughly a 30% winning percentage year in and year out? You can't win a game in the NFL when your stinking quarterback throws 3 picks and fumbles the ball. You can't do that. It's amazing that game was as close as it was.
Yeah. Second example of that is look at the Atlanta-Carolina game. You can't win football games if you're throwing multiple picks and have multiple turnovers in the game. On the YouTube stream at the Fan Upstate on YouTube, please jump in the conversation. Please jump in the live stream. We love having new people in there every single day. We got Daddy O. We were talking about conspiracy theories and making baseballs, changing the structure of a baseball to make it a little bit faster, a little bit easier to throw 100 miles an hour. Daddy O says conspiracy theories are just premonitions. There's always some truth there. Madcraft says, I don't know, man. The earth seems pretty round. Daddy O says, at least the pictures that NASA shows us. Daddy O, if the world is flat, where's the edge? Riddle me that one, would you? Let's see. JD Wyatt says, I want to see the aliens, the non-biologics.
Yeah, well, we've got them apparently. But if we showed them to you, what people would say is that picture was doctored. We had
they show us photos of Lizzo when we don't want to see them. So why can't they just show us the pictures of the aliens that we do want to see?
We had a debate last week on the show where we had 2 Gamecock fans, state that they would rather Clemson lose than they themselves win. I tweeted that, right? It started to go viral. Both of the 2 guys denied it. So then I posted the audio that offered confirmation that this actually took place. And I actually had some female Gamecock fans say, nice doctored audio. As if I'm smart enough, Diesel, to doctor the audio. So
Mark has to write his passwords down on a business card and stick it in the back of his cell phone case. Do you really think he knows how to doctor audio?
No chance. The fact that I knew how to post audio is absolutely incredible. Is incredible. So no, I don't know how to doctor audio. But if we ever had pictures of the aliens, that's exactly what people would think. Okay, coming up next, we've got Don Munson, the voice of the Clemson Tigers, set to join us on the show. And we will ask Don, is the slow start against Charleston Southern a big deal, a little deal, or no deal? That's next here on Offsides.
Sorry about that, Mongo. I didn't realize that we were just
It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Look, my friends, the Clemson Tigers are attempting to find their way here early in the season. I expect Clemson to be a team that gets better as the season goes along. You remember what South Carolina did last year. No way does Spencer Rattler and Beamer beat Clemson and Tennessee if those games were played at the beginning of the year. They were getting used to their new QB, used to their new offense. Well, I think in many respects, Clemson is in that very, very mode right now with their team and where their team is headed. But the problem is that Florida State doesn't afford them the luxury of getting ready. Florida Atlantic comes to town this weekend. We are attempting to resist the urge to do something Dabo Swinney would never let his players do. Kind of look ahead, but it's hard to, right? It's difficult. Everybody's got that Florida State game circled. Joining us right now is the acclaimed, the legendary voice of the Clemson Tigers, the director of broadcasting for Clemson University, none other than Don Munson. Don, always do appreciate the time, sir. Thank you so very much. How are you today?
I'm good. Appreciate you having me on.
You got it. Okay, Don, is the slow start against Charleston Southern, in your opinion, a big deal, little deal, or no deal?
Well, it turned out to be no deal, and that, I think, was the biggest deal that came out of it. So how's that for an answer? Because, Clemson righted the ship, and again, it was one of those anomalies where you've given up 14 points without surrendering a third down conversion, without surrendering a first down, and they had -5 total yards, and somehow they had 14 points on the board. But Clemson came out and did what they were supposed to do in the second, third, and fourth quarter, certainly, and ran away with the thing. And I think that it allowed them momentum to try to carry into this game here this weekend against Florida Atlantic.
Don Munson, the voice of Clemson, joining us here on Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, the Fan Upstate. Don, what are some things you'll see if Clemson is progressing nicely this Saturday to be prepared for next Saturday?
Oh, I don't think that they go in with anything that they're trying to do this Saturday that will have, that is game plan for next Saturday. I don't think there's anything that they're, believe me, this is not a group that staff-wise that worries, we need to do stuff here so that we can have either stuff on film to show them or not show them. That they don't worry about that. What you would like to see is Clemson make it through a game without any turnovers. What you would like to see is Clemson offensively to continue to do what they have done really in the first couple of ball games. And, they're averaging 550 yards. Now, you had better than 400 against Duke, and I understand Charleston Southern was Charleston Southern, but they still put up, 670 yards or whatever it was against Charleston Southern. The interesting thing, one of the things, if you go and you look at the numbers, Mark, is Clemson, when they've had the ball, has had an opportunity to gain over 1,800 yards. But what I mean by saying that is when they've taken over the ball from the line of scrimmage to be able to get it in the end zone, every possession they've had so far, there would have been 1,800 yards of offense to get into the end zone. Well, they have over 1,100 yards of offense so far in the two ball games. So almost 60%. They've almost picked up 60% of all yardage that was available to them to go grab. To me, that says something. And again, people will look back, well, look at who the two opponents are. I understand that. But still, they were able to go and do that. And it's going to start building some confidence within that offensive room, hopefully also inside Cade. Cade's got to get away from making the dumb mistake. And just, he's still a pup. He's still learning. And we all kind of knew that this first year was going to kind of be like this, that there were going to be some great moments for him and there were going to be some really head-scratching moments for him. And so far we have seen that from him. So I think I do think that Cade needs to go out and have himself hopefully an error-free game. I think that would probably be the best thing for all parties concerned if he can go out and have an error-free game.
He is Don Munson, the play-by-play voice of Clemson Athletics, and in the words of Jim Carrey, he's also one hell of a model American. Don, look, I understand that it makes any media personnel happier if you stay off of social media, if you stay out of the comment sections, if you don't read the overreactions from fans. But, you know, that's what fans do. They overreact. They make assumptions about what is or isn't going on inside of a program. You know, I'd love for you to take the chance to dispel some of the rumors that I'm sure you either have read or could imagine are spreading out there about what's happening inside of the program. You know, just kind of ease people's fears and concerns from your internal view of the program.
Oh, I think the program is fine. I don't think there's anything that's wrong with the program at all. I mean, and again, you know, that's why they're called fanatics. I mean, that's, you know, fan is nothing more short than for the word fanatic. And, you know, as my dad used to teach me, listen, 33% of the people are going to hate you. 33% of the people are going to like you. 33% of the people are going to have no inkling about you whatsoever. And that's just the way that it is, you know. And I think that's the other great misnomer with social media is I think that everybody believes that everybody is on social media, and that's just not true. I mean, that's just not the facts. Less than 30% of our entire population is on social media, and yet it's the screaming factor out there that always kind of, you know, that comes along and demands to be noticed, and unfortunately gets too much notice.
Don Munson, voice of Clemson, joining us here on Offsides, the Fan Upstate. Don, the dynamic between Phil Maffa and Will Shipley is really something, and it actually reminds me of the New York Giants back in the day when they had Tiki Barber and Ron Dane, and they called it Thunder and Lightning, right? Phil Maffa, the Thunder, Will Shipley, the Lightning. I think, you know, as Maffa really tends to batter the defense to the point where they don't have the speed to deal with Will Shipley running around the ends, I look at that tandem as one that can really blossom and not only help Clemson survive during the stretch where Cade is learning a new offense and finding himself, but also thrive. Can you speak to what you see in that tandem?
Well, and I think that what we've seen so far is kind of exactly what we all kind of expected out of them, is that these two guys, when you start looking at their numbers, I mean, if you combine them into one, and we have now reached a point, at least with Clemson football, and it's been this way for years, even under Coach Sweeney. I mean, almost his entire realm as head coach is that very rarely does a running back get 20 or more touches in a game just in and of himself. Etienne only had 3 of those games. And when we're talking about Travis Etienne, the all-time leading rusher in ACC history. So, you know, but when you start combining numbers and seeing, okay, mostly it's a one-back set. We've seen more two-back this year, and I like that. I like it when we have both Shipley and Maffa in the ballgame at the same time, because I think it just gives the defense something else to have to kind of plan for. But when you look at those numbers, you know, still that one back is getting around 140, 150 yards a game, which is spot on. It's exactly where you should be with that. And that's in about, you know, 30 touches. Right now, Clemson is, I think they have 6 more passes than runs so far total through 2 games. I think there's like 88 passes and 82 runs, which is about as balanced as you can get. And it wouldn't shock me that as we kind of move throughout the season that the run game becomes even more prominent because of the way that the offensive line seems to be developing, and also because of the way that Shipley and Maffa, although Maffa got to hang on to the football. I mean, as Coach Sweeney said today in his press conference, it's collision sport. If you're running back, you got to expect collisions, and you better hang on to the football.
You hear him on the play-by-play call of Clemson Athletics. Don Munson joining us on the show. Don, Mark has had the opportunity multiple times to visit the Allen and Reeves Athletics Complex. I've only been in that building once. You're in there much more frequently than we are. What is behind the most interesting closed door to guys like Mark and myself in that building that, you know, if you ever get a chance to turn that knob, you say, wow, this is pretty cool what we have in here?
No doubt it's the athletic training area, the 100 yards of wellness. I mean, you cannot believe some of the stuff that is back there to help, you know, get our guys, you know, ready for ball games, to help them mend up quicker, and all. I mean, I mean, you name it. There's cryo freeze chambers that are back there. There's, salt tanks that you get in, and they close the lid and it's perfectly pitch black in there, and you can, decompress. And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that is back there easily. And that is the area that hardly anybody ever sees. But that is easily the most interesting thing that is in that building, and it's not even close.
Don, have you ever slid into one of those sensory deprivation salt tanks? I hear people discover things about themselves in there.
I've asked. I mean, I've asked. They told me that they'll put me in one, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. I would like to just see what it's all about, and put the headsets on and get in there and decompress for whatever it is they're going to put me in there for 30, 45 minutes. And, I see how some people love it. Other people do not. I mean, I can tell you right now, we have some of our players that love it and others of our players that do not like it at all. So I personally think that I'll love it.
So many games inside that as well that we are privy to see on the Clemson media gathering, Don. Have you personally ever slid down the slide? And what, Don,
yeah.
You have slid down the slide. How was that?
I go down at every opportunity I can. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man. I attempted that, Don, but security got to me.
It's because there's a sign there that says that it's only for staff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But good try.
That's very true.
Can we get a day pass, Don?
Yeah, we're looking for the day pass, Don, somehow, some way. But all the games there, Don, I want to ask you, what is your best, I call them garage games? Pop-a-shot, ping pong, air hockey, bubble hockey. You got so many of them there in the Players Lounge. What is your best?
Probably the duck shoot, the thing that has the shotguns that you can get a big, what is it? I'm trying to think, big game hunter or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's probably my favorite. And it's funny because I don't shoot guns. I mean, I don't, actually, I shot the strongest gun I ever shot in my entire life just 2 weeks ago. I have a friend of mine that's in the Secret Service, was by his office, and he took me over and we went and shot some weapons, and I got to put some weaponry in my hand that I'd never had in my hand and before, and shot it. And so but I'm not a hunter or anything like that, but that's probably the thing that I like to go to the most.
Don, how long do you expect it to take Cade and Garrett to really click?
Oh, I would say, development wise, you want them to be playing at their best come November. So that's what I would hope. I would say, all right, let's see what happens when we get to November. So we're going to get to that November 4th game against Notre Dame, and hopefully they're clicking. Hopefully they're clicking at that point, coming all together, and because it's a game where you've got to get better week to week. You can't be playing your best football in September. You can't play your best football in October. You've got to play well in those months, but you've got to play your best in November and certainly into December if you can get there with a chance to win anything.
His name is Don Munson. He's the voice of the Clemson Tigers and the director of broadcasting at Clemson University. Don joins us every single Tuesday at 3:20. Don, thanks so much. Have a great call this weekend. We look forward to speaking with you next week.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Diesel. Go Tigers.
All right, take care. Don Munson, voice of the Clemson Tigers, joining us for his weekly segment every single week here on the show. To me, I am impressed at the candor of Don Munson and, his willingness to call a spade in terms of what he's seen. Quite honestly, guys, you don't get that out of every single play-by-play voice that is out there. You just don't. All right, my friends, up next on the show, this sport is completely lost right now. What has happened to it? And how do we bring it back? That's next. And this is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. And we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides, Mark Ryan and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Fantastic to have you guys with us, getting set for a massive NFL and college football weekend. Let's get the text line going today. Good topics. Text line is a little slow. We feel like we let you down, you know, like if the topics aren't there and the text line is slow as a result. But when we're bringing the heat and the text line is slow, that's on you guys. So let's get it going. TheCarPro.com text line 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. And we go to the phones right now, and we're joined by Mongo in Greer. Mongo, you and your family have been in my thoughts and prayers. I know what you guys are going through with your dad, man. Always good to hear from you. What's good, man?
Oh, not a lot. On that subject, I will let you know, I went and seen him yesterday, and the old guy, he's trying, man. He told me he was going to try to make it through football season, so we'll see.
There you go, man.
Anyways,
I hope he's able to do that.
Glad to see the Gamecocks win.
There you go. Awesome.
So I heard you say that I denied saying that. I didn't. Lonzo did. But not me. If you go back and look at my Twitter interactions, I owned up to it because somebody, one of the haters, came at you and said that never happened, and I said, no, I'm the guy. I am the fan he's speaking of. So I owned up to what I said, Mark. I owned it.
Well, here was my interpretation of it, honestly, Mongo. I posted that and I left names out of it, right? And then it started to go viral. And you immediately posted when I posted it, you said, I'm one of the two. And then after it went viral, my interpretation, you had a tweet, Mongo, where you said, I never fully said that. And that, no, Mongo, I'm paraphrasing here. You said, I didn't go as far as saying that. And I said, well, wait just a minute here. Right, just a minute. I've got denials coming each different way at me. Denial is not just a river in Egypt. We're just going to post the audio and let the people of America be the judge of what was said on the show. Mongo, you absolutely said on these airwaves, okay? You absolutely said you would rather have Clemson lose than South Carolina win. And you are a Gamecock fan. And that is the most pathetic mentality for a fan that I've ever heard in my entire life.
So here's what I said. And if you go back and listen, this is exactly what I said, word for word. I said I would rather lose week 1 to North Carolina just so I would know for sure that Clemson would get beat by Duke. I said I would take being 0-1 just so Clemson could get beat by Duke.
Yeah, that's pathetic.
It's what I said.
That's pathetic.
You'd rather give up your claim to being the real Carolina to see Clemson lose to Duke?
Yes.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on. How many weeks did we talk on this show, Mongo, about the USC Junior and not the real Carolina? And you and Gamecock fans all over the state lost their minds over that discussion. And now you're saying, nah, it's fine. I'll relinquish it to watch Clemson lose.
I have heard the USC Junior stuff my whole life, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I am so tired of hearing about this. Oh, we have a different culture in Clemson. We're classy in Clemson. We win with class. No, you don't. You play in a cow pasture and you drink at Nanny's drinking trough in the backyard. That is not what you do. You are a football team at Pickens County Tech. Okay? That's what you are. And I am so tired of hearing, we have class at Clemson. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're not even the real Death Valley. The real Death Valley is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's the real Death Valley.
Mongo, listen, buddy, I appreciate it. We know what you said. I wish you hadn't boop, 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 and backed up at all. Okay? I wish you hadn't done that. Okay? I really wish that wasn't the case, but you did. So I posted the audio. Okay? Both parties that said what they said attempted to back up, and I have the audio. So when that happens, when you guys can't stand the heat, I don't give you the option to get out of the kitchen. I post the audio for everyone to hear. Okay. So
I owned it.
Okay.
Now, my favorite part about bringing Mongo on the air, and Mongo, we love you, buddy. We appreciate the phone call. Is Mongo understands full well this is all just good-natured trash talking. And Mongo, you call him out, you shut him down in the conversation, and he's laughing and having a good time. That's how we want Gamecock and Clemson fans to be when they call this show. You can be as fired up and as passionate and as trash talking as you want to be. Just understand it's all meant to be in good fun.
Yeah, that's a great message, Diesel. Like everything we do on this show fans the flames of rivalries in sports.
People take this stuff way too personal.
And it's all meant to be fun. You know what I mean? It's never meant to be personal toward anybody or anything at any time. And, I don't know, Diesel. Like, it's just, I don't take life seriously enough to take things personally all that often.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just like this, like we're not clipping neurons in people's brains, Diesel.
Yeah.
We're fanning the flames of sports, of games.
I think that's how you and I work well together on this show is we can crack on each other. We can both be cracked on by each other and by listeners and by people on social media. And you and I both get it that if they say something legitimately funny, then it's fun to get cracked on that way. It's fun because, I give people a lot of credit. This is why I go after the people who just send the clown emoji all the time. You guys are lame. You're boring. It's been done a million times plus one. We've seen this time and time and time again. It doesn't hurt anybody's feelings to call them a clown because you're like the millionth and second person to call me a clown or to call Mark a clown. If you want to be insulting, at least be funny. At least come up with something creative and interesting that we haven't seen before, and then we'll give credit like, man, you know what? That's funny. I like that.
Yeah, the latest one is clickbait. You're nothing but clickbait.
Yeah, we are. That's exactly our jobs.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. We attempt to get you to click on the radio station.
Yep.
We attempt to get you to click on audio. We attempt to get you to click on tweets. That is exactly what we do, but at least we give you this. We're going to be truthful with you. We're going to give you our honest opinion. Okay. And it's amazing to me always how many people think like I just do what I do or Diesel, you do what you do just to get a reaction. Folks, like I have been incensing people my whole life. I just give you my opinions. Okay. Our takes incense people naturally. This is like, I don't have to try to do anything. It might be surprising to you, but it's who I am, right? It's who I am. Okay, my friends. Boy, look, ask and you shall receive. The carpro.com text line is now hopping. We've got a ton to get to right there. My friends, coming up next on the show, there is a sport that is hurting bad right now, hurting real bad. If only the fix for it wasn't the most simple solution you'd ever heard in your entire life. But of course it is. That, my friends, is next. And this is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we're the Fan Upstate. What's happening, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. You guys have a ton of choices out there. I truly do appreciate you making us part of your day each and every day. Coming up in this hour, we've got Jake Crain of Crain & Company. Seems to have a little bit of a bold prediction on Florida and Tennessee. Folks, you are not going to believe a record that could be set in the Carolina Panthers New Orleans Saints game next Monday night. I'll share that with you at 4:40 p.m. this afternoon. You know, when we say we're the most interactive sports talk show anywhere, part of that is we give you guys, we afford the audience, and we want to connect with you guys who we love and appreciate and value so much, our Offsiders. We want to connect with you through as many mediums as possible, as often as possible. So we engage with you on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube and on the text line, and we make sure we take all of your calls. Part of that also is making sure we get to your texts, and you guys have done a real nice job on the text line the last 20, 30 minutes or so. Texter says, Mark, the Aaron Rodgers thing sucks for my fantasy team too. JD said, how much longer can Josh Allen be average and Diggs not start yelling for a trade? You just watch Josh Allen and you see otherworldly athletic ability. Josh Allen is why Anthony Richardson went in the top 4 picks. It's not Cam Newton, right? It's Josh Allen. Josh Allen was raw, and now he's great, and the arm strength, man, is like something you'd never seen before. It's Megatron at the quarterback position. It's the Terminator. But, yeah, like he's just too mistake-prone, way too mistake-prone right now. Everyone needs a system of checks and balances. Every superstar has needed it. That guy that can rein you in, that can get in your face, tell you you suck when you do. For Jordan, that was Phil Jackson. For Curry, that's Steve Kerr. For Mahomes, that's Andy Reid. Josh Allen doesn't have that anymore. Texter says, Mark, if you're a Clemson fan, would you have been okay with benching Cade after the pick 6 for a few drives, like Dabo was willing to do with DJ Uiagalelei? Cade is the only ready, capable backup that I have seen at Clemson since I've been here. So I'm not a proponent of benching Cade, because who are you benching him for? It's not that I don't have high hopes for Christopher Vezina down the line, but you needed to watch for just 2 plays in the orange and white game to know he wasn't ready. Mark, just because Josh Allen had an off day doesn't mean that he's going to have a bad season. He'll bounce back real quick and be really good. Well, he is really good. That's what makes it so disturbing that he's been really kind of mediocre for an extended period right now. 20 interceptions in his last 20 games. Texter says, Phil Maffa, Will Shipley are not Thunder and Lightning. Clemson already had those, C.J. Spiller and James Davis. Clemson fans, you tell me, who is more of a Thunder Lightning combination? C.J. Spiller and James Davis, or Phil Maffa and Will Shipley? You tell me. I bet the most common answer we're going to get, Texter, is Maffa and Shipley need to do more before we crown them that. And I think that's fair. Texter did not like the Don Munston segment. He said it was a total load of orange-colored crap. That sounds like a serious disease, Diesel. He should get that checked out. Orange-colored.
They crowned their ass.
Clemson propaganda and apologetics. I am not a Clemson fan, but like them, this was butt puckering.
It's despicable. Guys,
listen. We want to have the voice of Clemson on the show, okay? We do. The show itself, right, is an opinionated show. That's who we are. That's what we do. We ask Don Munson pretty pointed questions. We're grateful that he joins the show.
We also live in a society where, Mark, people want to hear somebody admit something that they shouldn't say, that their bosses wouldn't like them to say. And like, when you're at that high level, you just don't do that. You just don't do that. As the voice of Clemson athletics, or as the voice of South Carolina athletics, or whoever it might be, you don't openly and vehemently criticize your boss, your football coach, your athletes. You don't do that. You just don't. Now, you may Howard Stern blankadoodle-doo dance around the subject and maybe allude to how you feel about something, but you just don't outright say it. And now people they're expecting this OMG gotcha drop the mic moment, and when they don't get it, they're like chills. Well, you would chill too if you were getting a paycheck with official university typeface on it for the amounts that some of these guys are making.
Yeah.
Trust me, you would.
And the what could Dabo be doing better type questions, we answer those on this show. We give you those opinions on this show. We're well aware that Don Munson is, he's not going to do something that's going to jeopardize or upset people within that athletic program. I get that.
Let me ask every single one of you who say things like that. How long would you stay employed at your job if you harshly criticized your employer? Probably not very long, right? People, I don't know if you don't realize, enjoy being employed. They enjoy paying their mortgage. I mean, they don't enjoy paying the mortgage. They enjoy being able to pay the mortgage. They enjoy their jobs, and so they don't want to lose their jobs. But yeah, go out there and rip your boss and see how long you keep your career.
And yeah, the other thing, Diesel, is you've heard me say on this show that I could never be a voice of because I can't do that.
Well, there was that baseball play-by-play guy who got suspended for posting a graphic with a little pun, with a little dig in the graphic. So that's what I'm talking about. These guys, they don't have the kind of leeway that you think and hope that they would to go out and rip their programs.
Let's see here. Texter says, "Fins up, boys. Dolphins winning the East. McDaniel is a genius. Tua is the most accurate passer in the league." Some of those passes, Texter, were out of this world from Tua Tagovailoa. He just, man, I don't know how you make a violent game non-violent. And unfortunately, I think it's only a matter of time before he's out again. And the next concussion is worse than the one before.
He's the official spokesman of scrambled eggs, Mark.
Dude, wow.
I don't want to see him debilitated later on in his life, No.
Texter says, "Can we get some harder questions on the trivia? Trivia will be Thursday for Smith and James. What year did Clemson last miss a bowl game?" Well, we now know we're not answering that, and not asking that one, right? Texter says, "Jameis Winston is a good option for the Jets. The best option for the Jets. Could start for the Jets if Zach Wilson can't get it done." Texter says, "Mark, the Game Hen fans are down bad." He said that 19 minutes ago. I don't know what we were talking about then. Can't wait for Mark to, the back and forth with Mongo when he said he'd rather Clemson lose than South Carolina win, and he's a Gamecock fan. Yeah, they are down bad. He is down bad. And, and Chris Phillips told me there's a percentage of the Gamecock fan base that feels that way. I'll never understand that. Never understand that.
Man, spite is an unhealthy way to live your life.
Oh, it is.
Spite can really eat at you. Some of y'all need to find something more positive in your life.
Mark, let's see here. Can't wait for Mark to act like this is what every Gamecock fan is like. No, but there's a percentage of the Gamecock fan base that is like that, and I haven't encountered that in any fan base I've ever covered. Texter. Mark, I heard some Jets fans are screaming to contact Cam Newton. They need to put a muzzle on. He's not the answer. Let's see here. Mongo is jealous that his program sponsor is Charmin because of how soft their program is. How do you think Diesel Charmin feels about their brand?
That's great branding.
It is, isn't it?
That is great branding to be known as the softest toilet paper in America. It's great branding.
Clemson's advantage at 12 noon start. No. Start time for Clemson, Florida State, Diesel's 12 noon. I think that's a disadvantage for Clemson.
And it's disrespectful to Florida State.
I think that is a massive. Well, Diesel, if I may, I think it's disrespect to Clemson because Clemson is unranked. The only way that gets pushed to a noon slot is if it's not expected to be competitive. Am I wrong? That's a number 3 against an unranked. Think about that. Now, Clemson is not your typical unranked, right? But imagine for a moment Alabama at Mississippi State. That's number 3 against unranked. That's a noon game. That's what they're doing to Clemson right now.
If I don't know if we're planning on doing this today, tomorrow, when we're planning on doing it, but let me just ask you a pop-up onsides or offsides. If Clemson played Florida State really well, great game, epic game, goes into overtime, 3-point win for Florida State. So Clemson looks good in a loss.
Mhm.
Would it be onsides or offsides for the AP poll to re-rank Clemson, putting them back into the top 25 after a good loss to Florida State?
I wouldn't have a problem with that, Diesel, because I think you should vote for the top 25 teams in America. And if they can do that, if they can do something to Florida State that LSU could not, which is just hang in there for a half, right?
So you want your top 25 to be more of a rating, not a ranking.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's not what the top 25 is. The top 25 is a ranking. It's based on results, not potential.
To some
If you base everything on potential, then 75% of games don't matter. In this world where we say people believe that games don't matter, they believe bowl games don't matter, you have to make the games matter. You have to make the games affect and help set your rankings based on results, or you're just having a brand power invitational and you're ranking the teams that you think have the most talent on paper, not on the field.
To a degree, yes, but there are actually, Diesel, no stated rules on that. And there are voters who vote for the 25 best teams, and there are voters who use it more as a standings page. I personally don't think it should be a standings page, i.e., every team with 2 losses is behind every team with 1 loss. That's what do you guys think? Should the top 25 be specifically and strictly wins and losses based? Let's see here. Buckeye Brian says Will Shipley is very average. Do you guys agree with that? Is Will Shipley very average? I think Will Shipley is good, trying to take the step from good to great. But I was listening to a Gamecock podcast, and I don't want to say the name, Diesel. I know Savell Newton is on this podcast, former Gamecock, and somebody on that podcast was saying Will Shipley is the worst running back that Clemson ever had. He's the worst running back.
Ooh.
And, it's like I immediately wondered, are they saying that because he's white? Is that why they're saying that?
No, I think he's saying it because there's been so much hype around Will Shipley, been so much conversation about how great he's going to be, and they can feel, if that's their opinion, that he has underperformed his expectation.
Has he underperformed his expectation? Texter says, Mark, I said the opposite on the stream about Don Munson, even though he is a Clemson homer. I feel like he doesn't sound like a stereotypical homer. Texter says Clemson needs to start and play the way they did the second half against Charleston Southern. Otherwise, they're only going to win 6 games. Texter says, Mark, the noon start against FSU means TV didn't want it for their marquee matchups. To a degree, yeah. I mean, yes, they're not expecting it to be a very competitive game. Texter says, Mark, if it was a close game, you would put a 1-2 Clemson team. No, it wouldn't be 1-2. They would be 2-2. There have been 2-2 teams in the top 25 before, Texter. Okay. Diesel said, not would I. Would it be offsides if they did it? Okay. If Clemson took Florida State to overtime and lost by 3, you'd have a hard time convincing me there are 25 better teams in America than Clemson at that moment.
But you would also be able to say they are 0-2 against FBS competition.
Also true.
Because we don't know the results of the game this weekend yet, obviously.
Mongo says that was Savell Newton that said that. Savell has some horrible takes. So says Mongo about Will Shipley. Let's see here. Happy anniversary, Brandon Keeler and Cassie. It is their 8-year anniversary today. Congratulations to you guys and all of the above. Okay, coming up next on the show, we have got Jake Crain joining us. Coming your way next, he has got a bold prediction about a big game coming up this weekend. That, my friends, is on the flip side. Here on the show that gives you both sides. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Speaking of fans, I am a huge fan of our next guest and their show. Jake Crain, Crain and Company, part of Real Daily Wire. It's on Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time to 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You can check it out on YouTube. Our guy, Jake Crain, a fantastic job with college football coverage, joins us right now on the show this afternoon. Always enjoy having you on with us, Jake. Truly do appreciate it, my friend. So I saw you, your take today, Florida, Tennessee. I watched a little bit of that today, Jake, and give me some hope here, Jake. Can my alma mater, Florida, actually shock the world and upset Tennessee, Billy Napier, year 2?
Man, well, I appreciate the kind words, Mark. Obviously, I feel the same toward you. But look, I mean, can they? Yes, I think they're going to need some help, though. That was basically what I opened the show with today. When I look at Joe Milton, I still think he's the same Joe Milton that we've seen. Eventually when somebody shows you who they are enough times, you need to start believing them. And it's not just about, turning the ball over or throwing interceptions. It's making the routine throws routine is a problem for him. And that's what helps you stay on schedule and help extend drives. The question is, can Florida be explosive enough and hang around enough to have a chance to win this game in the end? And I think they can, but I think where people kind of miss the mark with Tennessee is that while everybody talks about the Joe Milton situation and, the warp drive offense that they run, he's really upgraded the offensive and defensive line and the personnel and the depth there. And that's the quickest way to bridge the gap. So can they, in this crazy year of college football? Yes, you're playing them at home. Obviously, Billy knows it's a huge game. Every game's a huge game when you're the head coach at Florida. But I think Joe Milton and Tennessee helping them out a little bit may be Florida's best chance.
Jake, it's Diesel here. What was your aha moment? The moment that it clicked that your employer, the Daily Wire, really had your back and was going to allow you to truly be your opinionated self?
I think it's the main reason that we went to the Daily Wire is that, and we don't get political outside of men and women's sports, but I didn't want to go to a place where you basically, you can't say what you actually think. You have to kind of operate in this bubble. And I think of it in terms of, we're not one of those shows that goes out and just says everybody's going to be good, right? Or this guy's good, this team's good, just to get clicks. We're going to tell you what we really think. If I want to make fun of Colin Kaepernick thinking he should be back in the NFL, then I'm allowed to do it without having to worry about getting an email from HR about how I'm offending somebody. But there was no aha moment other than just seeing the way that they operate and the way, they say what they really think. And look, do I agree with everything that everybody says? No. But the best part about working there is I don't have to agree with what everybody says, and I don't have to worry about operating in a bubble where I can't say how I truly feel about something. So it was really one of the reasons we went there.
Jake Crain joining us here on Real Daily Wire. Jake, will we ever see Aaron Rodgers on an NFL football field again?
Man, we were talking about that today. There's something about Aaron Rodgers. I feel like he's not going to want to go out like that. And you look at Tom Brady, kind of the precedent he set, and you look at guys like Brett Favre, who played for a long time. He obviously wouldn't be the first to do it. Coming back from an Achilles is tough. But I do think Aaron's the type of guy where if you challenge him or he thinks people think he can't do something, then he's going to do the opposite of it and try and prove you wrong. So I actually don't think that we've seen the last of Aaron Rodgers. But what it kind of hit home with me is that, we're seeing a generation of quarterbacks that I've grown up with. We're really seeing the end of them, right? Ben Roethlisberger's gone. Matt Ryan says he's not gone, but he's really gone. Tony Romo's out. Tom Brady's out. I can go down the list. Phillip Rivers, even though, he says there's a chance he might come back. So it's really kind of a turning of a new leaf, but I don't think Aaron's done.
Jake, this is something that got me last week. Now, I'm an App State grad, and I was watching the game against North Carolina after the fact, actually before the game in the pregame press conference and after the game. Head coach Mac Brown of the Tar Heels, Mr. 100 wins at 2 different FBS schools, Mac Brown, was actively saying multiple times in interviews, I don't ever want to play that team again. It's an in-state school. It's good for local businesses. To me, that I had a problem with that, especially that he was a former head coach at App State, owns a home in the area. There's this pervasive attitude among fans that there's everything to lose and nothing to gain by playing regional teams at a slightly lower level than yours in your state. Can you? What is your opinion on that? And was Mac Brown in the wrong or the right on that?
Well, look, I think it's a compliment to App State. If I'm App State, every recruit's living room that I'm in, I am playing that clip saying, listen, everybody's afraid of us. Why don't you come join us and help us tear the party down? Mac Brown said out loud what a lot of people do, right? I mean, when do you see Auburn play Troy or UAB or Alabama play Troy or UAB? You really don't see it a lot because you have nothing to gain from that. If you're North Carolina, right? If you win that game, you're supposed to win that game. Why not play North Carolina A&T? You want to keep the money in state? That's what Auburn, Alabama do. They play Alabama State and Alabama A&M. So you really have nothing to gain. Mac Brown just said the quiet part out loud. It probably wasn't the smartest thing to say, but I said the same thing on our Sunday recap. If I'm North Carolina, I'm never scheduling App State again. That falls into kind of my rules of non-conference scheduling if I was a head coach. I'm not playing a triple option team. You can forget that. I don't care how bad they are. I'm not dealing with it. I'm not playing a really good, group of 5 team from my own state. It's a lose-lose. I'm not playing a team that's based on a religion. Nobody fights harder for longer than those guys. And I'm not playing on a neutral site that's in your state, even though because that's really not neutral. So that falls in line with my rules, but I'm not a head coach in college football. So I probably just would have given him credit, and then my AD would have walked in the next day, and I'd have been in his office with the lights off, smoking a cigar, saying, "Listen, we need to sit down and talk."
Well, Jake, isn't the thing to gain being gained by the fans? You've got 2 fan bases that know each other, that are related to each other, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, fathers, grandfathers. They see each other at work. They run into each other at the water coolers. Isn't that what college football actually needs? Not neutered matchups between North Carolina and UConn in front of a half-empty stadium. Wouldn't you rather play a good team from your own state that's going to sell out every single time?
Well, they play NC State. I mean, every year. They just played South Carolina in the opening game. If you had no other rivals that you played, then yeah, like if you're LSU, yeah, right? It makes sense. But I mean, if you're a place like North Carolina, we play NC State. They're literally in our conference. Those are the 2 biggest teams in the state. And then we just played our neighbor who's a rival in South Carolina. So I think it depends on the team that you're talking about. I think North Carolina is kind of exempt from that. But there are situations where, why doesn't LSU play Tulane every year? Like, why is Ole Miss having to go down and play Tulane? But I mean, it's part of it. I will say some coaches kind of shy away from it. This is the part, Diesel. I've actually talked about this on the show. The more teams that join conferences, like if you have 24 teams in a conference, these non-conference games are gone. Like you're not going to go play a legitimate group of 5 team when you're in the SEC and you have a 10-game in-conference schedule. I'm not doing that. If you're smart, you're not going to do it. So I do think that's a problem we're headed toward, but that's more of a non-conference game in general thing. That's not keeping the money in state. I mean, in theory, you're right, but I think it depends on the team and the circumstance.
Jake Crain joining us, Crain and Company on the Real Daily Wire. A texter wants us to ask you this, Jake. Can the Gamecocks cover 27.5? It may be accurate, Jake. It just feels so disrespectful to say. We're gonna give you 4 touchdowns and back it up just a wee bit from there.
Yeah, well, look, South Carolina's really beat up as well. Here's what I would say. I would take the under. If I was going to bet this game, I would take the under. I got it at 55.5. If South Carolina, and look, using the transitive property is a dangerous, formula when you're trying to project what's going on, but sometimes it's necessary. If you gave up 9 sacks to North Carolina, just imagine what the Avengers on Georgia's defense are going to do when they play this weekend at home. And Georgia seems to be more methodical on offense. I think South Carolina can put up a fight on defense for a little bit. The reason I don't like that 27.5 number is because of Shane Beamer and special teams. That's one of those where you can get back, you could get screwed over at the end because they block a punt Are they run a punt back? Are they run a kick back? Are they force a fumble on a kickoff return inside the 10 and run some tight end delay or tight end hide play and score a touchdown? So that's a really big number. I think you'd be a lot safer taking Florida State minus 25.5 against Boston College. I mean, they're going to have to bring in NCIS and CSI Miami and everybody to put together the clues to figure that murder out. But I would take the under before I took the spread in that game.
Jake, something Mark and I were arguing about in the last segment, and we kind of butt heads on this over and over again in whatever form it comes up. When it comes to top 25 rankings in the AP poll, Mark likes a model that's more of a power rating type of model, where the teams that have the most potential and the best teams on paper and talent, et cetera, should be ranked higher than others. I prefer more of a results-based orientation where you got to show me what you've done on the field and then you get ranked for it. Where do you stand when you're looking at top 25s, when you're mentally kind of ranking teams? Are you more of a rating guy or a ranking guy?
Man, that's a good. I never thought. I'm more of a ranking guy. I mean, call me a traditionalist. I mean, I need to see it. I need to see it on the field. I need to see the resume get built. So I'd say I'm more of a ranking guy, but that's an interesting, I think there's valid points on both sides of that argument or that debate. I think that's actually a pretty good debate.
Jake Crain joining us here on Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Jake, is Coach Prime revolutionizing how to win at the major college football level?
Well, I mean, man, you gotta say yes. I mean, look, there's two experiments that are going on at Colorado right now simultaneously, right, that we really haven't seen. We've seen guys get a lot of players from the transfer portal. We haven't seen somebody get this many players from the transfer portal and then try and get them to have good chemistry and get that cohesion and it actually work out, right? We haven't seen it in general, let alone it work out. And then Travis Hunter playing this many snaps, like we've seen guys play both ways and, return kicks and things like that. We haven't seen them truly play both ways. So yes. And I tell you, I had a coaching buddy of mine who's in the ACC text me the other night and say, listen, like what Prime is doing is great for college football, but it's awful for college football head coaches. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, now if you take over a job, the excuse of, well, I'm having to bring in all these new players and we need time doesn't fly anymore because Prime proved that you can win with bringing in a whole bunch of new guys. So and we talk about, it used to be you get 3 cycles, right? 3 years to be able to show progress and that you can win when you take over a new job. Now with the transfer portal and the freedom in it, it really got carved down to 2. Well, if Prime goes in there and does this in year 1 and they make a bowl game and they go from worst to relevant, now it's pretty much 1. So if you're a head coach, it's like the law, right? You need precedent. Once precedent is set, you can argue something. So there's been a precedent that's set. So yes, in 2 different ways at once, Prime is revolutionizing the sport.
Jake, I smell Texas A&M throwing a ludicrous amount of money at Coach Prime. When you're saying you get 1 year, they're the ones who will be willing to do it, right?
Look, at some point, I mean, it's either revert to that or magic. I don't know. Look, the one that I'm looking at is the head coach over there at Duke right now and what he's doing. He flipped it in 1 year without bringing in so many new guys, and that's Mike Elko. If there's anybody on the list, it's Mike Elko, and I would not be shocked. And look, I've watched A&M lose games and look inept in all 3 phases. I think that game said as much about Miami as it did about A&M. And in a year where the SEC and outside of Georgia, but Georgia's still got to prove it this year, and really the SEC West still looks pretty wide open, I wouldn't panic yet if I'm an A&M fan because there are pieces there. There were some good things. But, I mean, those people have been more patient than anybody. It's been since, before we dropped into Normandy in World War II that they won the whole thing. So at this point, who knows? They may try and go get Dumbledore or Gandalf or somebody.
Jake Crain of Crain and Company joining us here on the show. Jake, outside of prayer, is there anything Clemson can do to have a shot at shocking the world on September 23rd against Florida State?
Well, you never say never, but at some point, like Clemson's biggest problem, and I've said this on here before, is, and look, you can blame a lot of it on Dabo not embracing the transfer portal. I keep saying it's like my grandmother, and she's 85 years old. She's had the same toaster forever, and it works probably once out of every 3 to 4 times. She's so stuck in her ways. And I tell her, I'm like, Grandma, I will get you a new toaster. I will get you the SpaceX Mercedes-Benz versions of the toaster, and she still won't get a new toaster. At some point, Dabo, you got to get a new toaster, dog. Like, you got to do it. It's been a mix of that and missing on skill players in recruiting. I mean, they were struggling to get separation from Charleston Southern the other day. But I think Clemson's problem right now is more of a personnel problem than anything. And if he doesn't adjust, and I always give Nick Saban, I think one of the most underrated traits of Nick Saban is his ability to be malleable at the top. And even when he was complaining about the hurry up, no huddle, he realized they weren't going to change it. So what does he do? He goes and hires some of the best minds when it comes to running a fast-paced offense. Dabo at some point has got to you're two type of people. You're the person on the Titanic helping everybody get to the lifeboat and you jump in one, or you're the guy playing the violin as it goes down. Dabo's got a choice to make.
Boy.
So no,
Jake,
they don't have the personnel.
Jake, I can tell you we're gonna be packaging that one and sending it out. Okay.
It's just the truth, man. I'm not saying you got to be Billy Zane either. I'm not saying you get on before the women and kids, but eventually you got to get on the lifeboat. That puppy's going down. Like, I'm not sitting there playing, Beethoven's, whatever it is, fifth quartet while we're sinking in freezing cold water. Just like I'd have told Kate Winslet, scoot over. That's a big door.
That's exactly right. Oh, by the way, Jake, I love that whole, everyone's that theory about that. And then the movie had scientists come out and say, no, he couldn't have actually gone on the door. But they didn't even try. They didn't even try.
No, well, we'd have tried.
Yeah.
We'd have exhausted every option. Or maybe Kate Winslet would have had to hit the transfer portal into the
Yeah. It's not comeback Jack. It's scooch over Rose.
Yeah.
Hey, look, let's go 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Let's see how far we can stretch these things out. They got to be coming eventually, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, come on. There's so many decent ideas there that they never utilize.
Player.
Yeah. Right. Jake, this is more of a feeling than a question. I feel sad, man, about the Pac-12. Like, we're seeing right now that they're playing out of their minds. Their results this year are downright SEC-like. It's like those two conferences thus far have joined the movie Trading Places. I can't explain it. Yeah. Can you explain to me, Jake, just your feeling about what you're watching? I just feel such a sadness and a lack of understanding how those teams, all but two of which were attractive enough to other conferences to poach, couldn't get more than a streaming-only deal. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, man, look, timing's everything, right? It's one of the greatest ironies. And look, it is sad, right? It is sad, regardless of what you thought about the Pac-12 in the past. I mean, look at what they're doing this year. They're probably going to wind up, the way it's looking right now, and there's a long way to go, ended up being the best conference in college football as they, slowly dissolve into the night. It's just one of those things where it shows you, the most important people when it comes to a conference's survival, a lot of times don't call a play or don't catch a pass. They're the people that wear suits and walk into work and make these decisions. And it is sad, but I will say, it's just like going to the humane shelter and seeing that 90% of the dogs found a home. They just got to find that other 10%. Where are they going to go? Let's have a sale or something. But it is sad.
It is most definitely sad.
Well, Jake, good news. I don't know if I don't know if your wife or your girlfriend finds you as funny as you are, but just know that our P1 listeners, Madcraft and Spur Daddy, are rolling laughing at your metaphors with the Titanic in the door. So they think you're funny.
It's the truth, though. Yeah, it's the truth. Well, it just depends on, if I put the napkins in the right place and made sure the kitchen was clean. That's when she finds me the funniest.
There you go. Jake, the newly married Jake Crain.
Yeah.
Jake.
Yeah, the over's already hit, Mark. Over's already hit.
I feel a lot of people have that on me too, getting married, man. The serial solo artist over here, yours truly. How crazy is it, Jake? You, me, Diesel, all in the last year. Spoken for. Congrats to us.
Look, man. Yeah, I know, man. Again, it's just one of those things. And what's crazy is I'm from Auburn and she's from Tuscaloosa. I mean, it's basically a Taylor Swift song.
That's right. Hey, folks, if you want analogies, hard-hitting opinions like this, check out our friend Jake Crain every day of the week, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time to 9 a.m. Eastern Time on the Real Daily Wire, Crain and Company. How do you watch it? YouTube.
Yeah.
Just go to Crain and Company on YouTube. You'll see it right there. They are right around 100,000 subs. And Jake Crain, thank you so much, my friend. We'll talk to you next week.
Definitely, man. Always great to chop it up with y'all. Hope everybody enjoys the football watching this weekend. We got it Saturday and Sunday. It's just put it on a pillow and smother me to death with it, Mark. I love it. Diesel, shout out. It's all love.
There you go. The newly married, newly minted Jake Crain right here on Offsides, the Fan Upstate. Coming up next, you will not believe the record that the Carolina Panthers have a chance to set when they face the New Orleans Saints a week from Monday. That, my friends, is next, and this is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Thrilled to have you guys with us on a Super Tuesday edition of the show. Bruckeye Brian wants to know, why isn't Sam Hartman on anyone's big board to be drafted? I think, sometimes when guys stay a long time, it works against them because the NFL looks at them like anybody that's hot leaves as soon as they can. Sam Hartman hasn't had a lot of this hype and hoopla, but I do think, man, that Sam Hartman is a hell of a lot more pro-ready and has a hell of a lot better pro prospects than a lot of these cats out of Georgia and Alabama, A.J. McCarron and Jake from State Farm. I think Sam Hartman can really play, and I think he can really play at any level. Let's see here. I'd rather get real close to the TV and watch I Dream of Jeannie than watch Will Shipley, keep tripping over his feet. So says a texter. Texter says, Will is not a game changer. We need a strong, fast back. He works hard, but, and I'm a Clemson fan. Is that the general feeling about Will Shipley? I mean, I'm kind of surprised by that. Really, I'm surprised. Diesel, I think, honestly, App State is only going to go up. The days of old are done. I wouldn't be surprised that in 5 years they could be playing. Let's see here. This is if you guys can keep your text a couple of lines and then just shoot us a different text. I wouldn't be surprised in 5 years they could be playing in the 12-team playoff. It'd have to be in a major conference for that to happen. Otherwise, they got to be the very best of the group of five.
Right. We don't know what the structure of the future 12-team playoff is going to be. Do you really think that as the Pac-12 goes away, that the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12 especially are going to be willing to say, yeah, that's fine. We'll give a second playoff auto berth to the second best group of five champion? I don't think that's going to happen. The rules are going to change. The structure of the playoff is going to change. It never changes in a way that benefits the smaller school. It always changes in a way that benefits the bigger conferences who have more money. So it's going to get harder and harder. Look, no access from an auto berth standpoint has been given yet. It has been discussed. It has not been codified. So we don't know what this is going to look like going forward. And yeah, it's a tough ask to say only one team from that level, 65 plus teams, are going to be guaranteed a spot in this. That's a very, very difficult ask, especially when when revenue distribution is the way that it is, when you're talking about some schools making $2-3 million a year in TV revenue versus 30, 40, 50 million a year.
Diesel, I will tell you this, provided that everyone's golden goose Notre Dame stays put and chooses not to decide, like Rush said, if you choose not to decide, you'd have to think at this point, with what's left out there, that Appalachian State is a candidate to be on somebody's short list. Like they fit geographically beautifully with the ACC.
That's true.
And I'd love them to stick it to Mac Brown. Well, guess who's going to be playing us every year now?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anywhere in the country, though, that has 5 FBS programs in a power conference in the same state. That would be App State, North Carolina, NC State, Duke, and Wake Forest. There's no other state in the country except maybe California that has, or in that case, had 4+ FBS programs in the same conference in the same state?
No. I mean, but who cares? Who cares?
I'm going based on the way the market strategy of conference realignment has gone. It's always been, how can we add more television sets in markets we don't currently penetrate? How can we add a new state? Not how can we enrich our own state?
Or how can we make the football product in our conference better? Look, guys, I mean, there's been a lot of years among the last 10 where App State would finish as a top half of ACC school.
Hey, Rutgers doesn't give the Big Ten the New York City market, nor does it make Big Ten football better, yet they were at it anyway.
Coming up next on the show, we've got the top 5 at 5. That's on the flip side. Here on the show that gives you both sides. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. And we are the Fan Upstate. What is good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark Ryan and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. Really do appreciate having you guys with us, and we thank you so much for tuning into the show this afternoon. Truly do appreciate all of your time, and man, I'm sorry, guys, I just got distracted because I just got the news that former Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Williams has died. He's 36 years of age, had been hospitalized in intensive care after an accident at a construction site in Hillsborough County that left him partially paralyzed. Was taken off a ventilator Thursday. Wow. So why was he at a construction site in Hillsborough County? And why was he involved in an accident at a construction site that left him partially paralyzed? I'm not trying to imply anything, but this is an NFL player. You know, why would he be in an accident at a construction site?
Was he a current NFL player or a veteran? No. Okay, so
but he's just 30-60s.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know. I'm rolling through possibilities in my mind. Maybe he needed the money. He needed work.
Yeah. Wow. That is that's really sad news. Yeah, guys. I'm sorry about that. Try to be well spoken, but literally as the music was coming up to bring us on the air. I remember the last time that happened to me was in 2021, a couple of years ago. I got the news that a friend of mine who had been a mentor to me in this business, so supportive of me in this business, died of COVID. And I got that. I saw that on Facebook right before we came back on air. You know, so every once in a while, you get news. Like, I loved watching Mike Williams. Loved him. The Mike Williams from Syracuse University. Just absolutely loved watching him. And I can't, it's hard. It's just hard to, it's hard to find your words and to continue when that happens, right? So anyway, we'll attempt to do that right now. We've got the top 5 at 5. It's the top 5 biggest sports stories of the day, the top 5 topics we're discussing. Ladies and gentlemen of the Upstate, Offsiders, the top 5 at 5 starts right now.
97.7 FM Greenville. 87.1 FM Spartanburg.
And on the Odyssey.
We're both finding our way this segment. It's all good. It's all good. Hit it.
5.
All right, at number 5 on the show today, Aaron Rodgers out for the year with a torn Achilles. The Jets are apparently speaking and reaching out to veteran quarterbacks. Jameis Winston is thought to be high on the list. Colin Kaepernick's agents have reached out to the Jets to express interest. They are floating that. Of course they are. Would you sign Colin Kaepernick? Would you do so after this long of a period off?
Honestly, it might be the shot in the PR arm that the Jets need right now. You're not going to win a whole lot of games with him. I don't think anyone has a whole lot of delusions that you're going to win games with Colin Kaepernick, but Aaron Rodgers was a story. Aaron Rodgers was the reason people were talking about the New York Jets. No one will be talking about the New York Jets if what's his face? Again, I don't even remember his name. Zach Wilson is the quarterback in New York. You almost kind of have to make a PR stunt here and sign a guy like Colin Kaepernick if you want people talking about you.
So here is the reaction from Peyton and Eli last night when Aaron Rodgers went down.
He's in the tent. He's hurt. He's hurt. Could not have been. Holy cow. I cannot believe this. I thought it was just an ankle. I thought we'd go tape it up and get him back in there. Come on.
Hey, 3 plays, 4 plays,
Yeah, I'd rather see the run it. Look at this, baby. This had a baby.
There was some frustration there in Peyton's voice
He almost dropped
that I think was very telling on Peyton Manning's opinion of Aaron Rodgers. To me, now obviously in that moment, Peyton and Eli don't know that there has been an Achilles tear, right? They don't know the medical prognosis or diagnosis. But it sounds to me like for a split second, Peyton was like, "Come on, dude, you're not hurt. Don't use this as an excuse to get off the field." It felt like Peyton might have been saying
he's soft.
He's soft,
Sponsored
and
by
he's leaving the game early because he doesn't really want to be out there.
I've got a few jumping off points as well on this. Number one, I'll tell you, Clemson has been so lucky with health at the quarterback position. How many years does Clemson have an actual viable, capable backup? When's the last time that happened? Seriously, first of never. Deshaun Watson largely stayed healthy. Trevor Lawrence, Taj Boyd, Kelly Bryant, right? DJ Uiagalelei, much to your dismay if you're a Clemson fan. They haven't had to worry about health at the quarterback position. Been very blessed, very fortunate, and they really never have a competent backup or a backup ready to play today. I think Christopher Vezina for Clemson has got a world of potential. Is he ready to play today if Cade goes down? You know the answer there. Clemson has been very, very lucky. That injury had me feeling some sort of way because, and here's what I mean by that, I feel cruel today because I was looking forward to the drama central, the Jerry Springer show, the train wreck that was going to be the Jets starting 1-5 or 0-6.
How dare you get hurt, Aaron, and deprive us of an entire season of ripping on you?
Diesel, it was another opportunity for us to be right, and they took that from us. Now, when they stink, everyone's going to be saying, well, they have an excuse. And the other thing is, folks, how strongly was that anticipated? Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. You think about some of the also oft anticipated and hotly anticipated debuts. Shohei Ohtani with the Angels, Steven Strasburg with the Nationals, Shaquille O'Neal with the Orlando Magic. That fan base has had nothing to cheer for. Super sad that happened to the fan base. They won the battle last night, but they lost the war. They ended up beating the Bills. We'll get to more of the why there coming up momentarily. Next up,
4.
At number 4. Let us set the record straight on this, my friends. We had Mongo call us today, and Mongo's dad has been a bit under the weather, and we want Mongo's dad to know that we have him in our thoughts and prayers. But Mongo last week said that he would rather Clemson – he's a Gamecock fan, and he said he'd rather Clemson lose than South Carolina win the first week. And that is the most pathetic mentality I have ever heard in my entire life. I can't, you would rather have, you care so much about what other people do that it supersedes what you actually do. You talk about being a prisoner of what people think of you, right? I will never understand that. Please, as fans, do not be that. It should never be more joyous to you that Clemson loses than you win if you're a South Carolina fan. It should never be more joyous to you that South Carolina loses and you win than you win if you're a Clemson fan. It's pathetic fan behavior. Never heard anything like that before. Be better than that. Next up.
3.
My friends, there are one of two people that should be front and center on the Heisman Trophy list right now. Okay? They are as follows. Quarterback Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, or wide receiver cornerback from Colorado, Travis Hunter. Do you realize Travis Hunter played 121 snaps? 121 snaps last week against Nebraska. Played almost every play at cornerback, played almost every single play at wide receiver. I mean, we should start speaking of him in Shohei Ohtani terms. In my opinion, Travis Hunter should be number 1 on the Heisman Trophy ballot, and Shedeur Sanders number 2. Why? Because Travis Hunter is doing something we've never seen before. We saw Charles Woodson play defensive back and return punts and come out for the odd play at wide receiver. But we've never seen a player at this level do Iron Man, both positions, the entire freaking game, and they're winning both games to start the year. You can make a point they had no business winning either of those games. I don't want to hear about Caleb Williams. I don't want to hear about Drake May. All right? I want somebody to be honored that's doing something we haven't seen before. Travis Hunter is the Shohei Ohtani of college football.
Yeah, this is what Travis Hunter is doing is Lou Groza type stuff. Like, this is the type of stuff, if he can maintain this is the kind of career path that gets you awards named after you. Not wins you awards named after someone else. It gets an award named after you.
That's a great point.
Like imagine a Heisman or a Walter Payton Award called the Travis Hunter Award 20 years from now.
Which would be the Iron Man of college football.
Right.
Right?
And then you would have more players willing to do it.
Yep. It's incredible. It is incredible. So, please spare me anybody else right now in the Heisman Trophy voting. Michael Penix Jr., no thank you. Caleb Williams, please. Drake May, the hell out of here. Travis freaking Hunter. Period. End of story. Thanks for playing. Next up.
2.
Is it fair to say that he's a bust now? I mean, he's trending in bust category. Carolina Panthers cornerback J.C. Horn, who's missed 18 games his first 2 seasons with injuries, will miss Monday night's game against the New Orleans Saints with a hamstring injury. He's expected to miss multiple weeks with the injury suffered in the first half of Sunday's 24-10 loss to the Atlanta Falcons. And I know you Gamecock fans are going to hit me with, no, Mark, you can't hold an injury over somebody's heads. Brother, you can't make the club in the tub. The best ability is availability. If you are not available, you are not reliable. And Diesel, I go back to this draft where I was pissed about a couple of things, okay? A couple of things. They got J.C. Horn with the 8th overall selection. They passed up Justin Fields to get J.C. Horn. They really wanted Penei Sewell, who is now an anchor on one of the best offensive lines in the NFL with the Detroit Lions. All they did was go to Kansas City with a run-heavy offense and beat the Chiefs to kick off the NFL season last Thursday. That's all they did. So you didn't get the quarterback that was right there, Justin Fields, and you really wanted Penei Sewell for the offensive line from Oregon, and you didn't move up one spot to get him. That was the guy you wanted. I remember seeing a behind-the-scenes after the draft, Diesel, and it was really cool what the Carolina Panthers showed you. And they had Matt Rule going over with Dave Tepper their draft board, okay? And he said, where we project to pick, here's our guys. Penei Sewell was number 1. He went 1 pick before them. Go get your guy, dude. This was, no offense to J.C. Horn, but this was not the guy that they should have wanted, that they should have needed. This was a miss before. It's a miss yesterday. It's a miss today. It's a miss tomorrow. And the guy can't stay healthy. Is this now a bust of a pick?
Well, those Gamecock fans saying that you can't hold an injury against somebody, they're just handing out Crystal Pepsi potential awards. I had the potential to be really great, but it just didn't taste very good. People didn't really like it. It's never available, always injured, always on the training table. That's what we're talking about. And by the way, I mean, how bad did Matt Rule look this week when he said, a 3-4 year build's what you get when you hire somebody like me after just getting punked by Deion Sanders. Well, it takes a while. That's what you get when you hire me. What?
Yeah. Coach Prime is on the 3 or 4 games plan. You know what I'm saying? Matt Rule needs 3 or 4 years. Coach Prime needs 3 or 4 games. How about that? I don't know, guys. This looks like a wasted pick. J.C. Horn to the Carolina Panthers. And finally,
1.
Josh Allen, man. 4 turnovers last night. 3 picks last night to a cornerback on the Jets named Pop My Whitehead. And a fumble last night. Josh Allen now has 20 interceptions in his last 20 games without Brian Dabo. All right, 20 picks in the last 20 games. What was the number one reason why many of us considered Phillip Rivers to be the most overrated quarterback of his era? Led the league in turnovers every year. What's the most tried and true NFL stat? Those teams in the top 5 of turnover margin win about 75% of their games. Those teams in the bottom 5 of turnover margin win about 30% of their games in the NFL. Josh Allen is becoming a Phillip Rivers-esque turnover bleeping machine. And I don't know, man. You know, I look at other superstars in sports, and they all have someone to keep them in check, right? Andy Reid keeps Pat Mahomes in check. Belichick did that with Brady. Steve Kerr does that with Steph Curry. Phil Jackson did that with Michael Jordan. When Brian Dabo left Buffalo, so did his get-back coach. So did the guy willing to call him to the carpet. And now Josh Allen looks like this supremely talented individual, a Megatron, a Terminator at the quarterback position, with no discipline. He looks completely and totally reckless. And I worry that the person does not exist on the Buffalo coaching staff to save him, to get the most out of him. You know, Diesel, for one team in the AFC, their season is going to be a massive disappointment when they don't make it to the AFC Championship game. You have 3 heavyweights in that conference: Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati. And I'm here to tell you, again, the team not making it to the AFC Championship game is going to be Buffalo. They're the team that's going to wear the failure tag. They're going to be everyone's power-rated top 5 team that doesn't even make it to the Final Four. That's where they're at, because Josh Allen is reckless AF right now.
Better name, Mark. Pop My Whitehead or newly signed Panthers practice squad player DiCaprio Booty. Both great names. What, honestly, parents, okay? Parents, some of you who there's somebody out there whose wife or girlfriend is pregnant right now. Maybe we got some ladies in the audience who are pregnant right now or want to have kids and want to get your kids into athletics later on in life. Like, what are you doing with these names? Like, it feels like you're intentionally trying to punk your kid by giving him a silly name. And you better hope beyond hope that kid grows up to be an athlete where having a silly name actually gets recognized as being something fun. Like, could you imagine walking into an accountant's office to get your taxes done and they say, "Welcome to H&R Block. I'll be your tax professional, DiCaprio Booty." You'd turn around and walk out because you'd say, "There's no way in hell I am letting someone named DiCaprio Booty do my taxes." Or, you know, what if your heart surgeon's name is Pop My Whitehead? Really? Like, you're going to make your kid change his name because you gave him such a dumbass name,
well, Diesel,
hoping that he would be famous?
In fairness, I've given him that name.
Oh, I thought that was his real name. You got me. You got me.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Diesel, don't forget General Booty.
Yeah, there's General Booty, yeah.
And don't forget that to many people, the actor DiCaprio is actually Booty. So that actually works as well. A couple things, Diesel. Number one, the Pop My Whitehead thing. Went to a Florida basketball game when I was a student there with a buddy. Okay. When I point to you, Diesel, just say Whitehead. Okay. There was a player on Vanderbilt with a last name Whitehead. Yeah. And me and my buddy Pat stood up during a timeout. Okay. Not caring what people think. And we actually did this. I would go, "Pop my
Whitehead.
Pop my
Whitehead."
We did that at a basketball game with a guy whose last name was Whitehead. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I still need to mature.
Hey, that's how you stay young in this business. People ask me all the time, "How do you stay so young?" I was like, "I'm very immature for my age." That's how you stay young.
And those are today's top 5 at 5. Now it's your chance to chime in, which you can do at 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. You can get to us on the carpro.com text line, 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go. You can also Please do get to us on social media. Please like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube at The Fan Upstate each one. And finally, email. You guys can all email the show. Mark Ryan, that is MARC Ryan at thefanupstate.com. All the different ways you can get in touch with us here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere.
Mad Craft seemingly has a big problem with you smack talking Leo DiCaprio. Must have really liked his work on Boy Meets World as a kid. Yeah.
DiCaprio is booty. He is booty, man. He is absolutely booty.
I mean, he only had to get mauled by a bear to finally win a damn Oscar.
Right? That's it. That is all he had to do. Hey, folks, you're not going to believe the record that could be broken next Monday when the Carolina Panthers take on the New Orleans Saints, and we're going to share that with you next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate.
Oh, guys, it's been fun yet again. As always, on the stream. Thank you, Matt Kraft. Spur Daddy. I think Spur Daddy's making a little statement here about the Gamecock football strength and conditioning program, maybe. Says it seems to be a trend with former and current Gamecock football players to always be injured. Interesting. That's a big indictment there, Spur Daddy.
Yeah, how many times did you hear Will Muschamp complain that they were the most injured team in America? And I was always like, Diesel, why are you admitting that?
If you're that injured, that's your fault. That's your strength and conditioning coach's job to keep your players
It'd be like
healthy.
when I saying we're the most unprepared show on the radio, Diesel. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
That ultimately, it's not just luck, ladies and gentlemen. You know, there's more to it than that.
You can't hire Farmer Freb to be your water boy and your supplemental guy. So I guess that's what's going on in Columbia. Guys, it's been fun. We'll do it again tomorrow right here on the stream at 3:00.
We'll see you guys then.